Again. All right, just so from a news standpoint, it's a little bit slow. Obviously, like I said, we're in the summer season or soon to start summer. So there's just a couple of WordCamps of note. This one just ended recently, but it's obviously one of the largest ones of the year. So WordCamp Europe wrapped up on June 10th, I believe. The nice thing about the large WordCamps, WordCamp US, WordCamp Europe, etc., you can find the presentations posted afterwards on WordPress.tv. So if you search for that, or if you go to the WordPress, I think the WordPress.tv YouTube channel as well, or just search for WordPress Europe 2023, you'll find it there. So again, if you couldn't attend, if many of us were unable to attend in beautiful Athens, Greece, then at least you can take a look at the presentations afterwards. So that's something to be aware of. And then the only other kind of local kind of WordCamp coming up around here is in about 11 days in Montclair, New Jersey, WordCamp Montclair. And that one, I believe, from I looked at the site, I believe is entirely in person. I didn't look at the site very deeply, but I did not see an online component to that. But if you're in the area, like I said, I know we have people here outside of Connecticut, definitely worth a trip. If you haven't gone to a WordCamp, I haven't been to one since WordCamp New York a few years ago. So check it out. You'll find lots of great sessions like what we do here, a lot of great interaction with other WordPress people, enthusiasts. And you don't have to be an expert to attend a WordCamp. You usually have tracks for different kind of skill levels. So I highly encourage people to check it out.
Ray, was WordCamp in Greece in English, or are they translating?
I don't know.
Okay.
Usually it's a mix. Usually it's a mix of, especially WordCamp Europe. I've seen it's quite a bit of English from past years.
Everything I saw was in English. I will post the site. They streamed 2-3 tracks live, which means they'll break those up. So you can kind of, before they put it on WordPress TV, you can see it on YouTube. So I'm gonna go grab that right now.
Great, thank you.
And everything I saw was US. I mean not US.
English, yeah. They're usually very good too about even subtitles and sign and all that, and transcripts.
Montclair, New Jersey.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I moaned out loud. Montclair, New Jersey. I did 2 years there.
At the campus of Montclair State University?
It was Montclair State College when I was there, and one of those is hanging up behind my head. I did a master's there.
Oh, nice.
was not fun. I leave that to myself.
Peter, I don't know if you have 2 more plugin spotlight, or do you want to save that till?
Well, one of the things that we were talking at the beginning of the call was we would post that was one plugin that we can spend more time over. But here's something that I think will be pretty interesting, and we could spend more time on it a little bit later. But I'm curious if anybody has taken a look at or heard of playground.wordpress.net.
No.
No? All right, let me show it to you. How about I grab?
Yep, you should be able to. Okay,
I have to actually go to the. I have 15 screens open right now. So I'm going to share this one and ignore that. And ignore that and ignore all of this. See, I told you I had a lot of things open. So I'll just do it as a new window because that'll probably be best to do it. All righty. So playground.wordpress.net. It is a full WordPress install in your browser.
I've seen this.
Yeah. So you've got admin rights. We can go to appearance, themes. We can add a new theme. We'll go to unexpected error. Sometimes it works smoothly, sometimes you get little issues. But I've run all kinds of stuff, and what's really neat, and I'll show this later, is ways that you can, just through using parameters in a URL, you can actually set up a site with plugins preloaded, a theme preloaded, and then work in it. And it'll work. There's ways you can save it by downloading it, but if I refresh it, it goes away and I'm starting anew. So, but it's yet another tool that we have for experimenting. So InstaWP, TasteWP, now playground.wordpress.net for totally in the browser. And of course, the local app that we've shown before, and we can show again to those who haven't seen it. But was experimenting with that.
It looks like you can also switch the environments to the PHP and
Yes,
the WordPress version. That's really neat.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, so you can do, you know, I'll put in air quotes testing, because, you know, on their servers and all, but yes, you can experiment a little bit, or, you know, for us, if we wanted to go to a previous version and say, okay, we could actually do this in the browser and kind of compare, you know, 6.2 versus, 5.9. What's that?
So you want to check again?
Oh, that was you. I think you had something playing. I mean, the good thing about this, from a use case standpoint, let's say you want to try out something quickly. Like, I know you showed other ways to do that, Peter, of like trying out a plugin, but this is a great way to just spin up an environment, try it out quickly, and jump right in.
Exactly. So there you go.
Very neat. All right. Well, like I said, so tonight's summer or summer school thing is really an open forum. Hopefully people have websites for us to look at, questions, general questions. But I did want to kind of kick things off a little bit, because I did mention also that, you know, this is our, if we have time in between, there's a lull or something, we always do have fun things to show off. Like Peter, again, if you attend these on a regular basis, Peter always finds some great tools and plugins, etc. And one thing that I know we've been talking about quite a bit this year, and obviously it's in the news a lot, is AI and kind of how artificial intelligence broadly, again, that term's a little nebulous at times, but how that may impact WordPress and website development in general. So I thought maybe just like 5-10 minutes, I'll show people something kind of cool, WordPress related, fairly new as far as I know. At least I just saw some articles about it in the past week or two, and that's within Jetpack itself. There's some new AI capabilities that are being tested. So if you're not aware of it, let me share my screen 1 second here. So Jetpack, for people who may not have used it in quite a while, or people who are unfamiliar with it. So Jetpack is actually a plugin that's been around for quite a while. I don't know the exact history of it. And in the past, it's been one of those, we were talking earlier about plugins that are the Swiss Army knives or can do everything. So Jetpack has some people have a love-hate relationship with Jetpack, but it's certainly a tried and tested plugin that's developed by the creators of WordPress, Automatic specifically. So recently, like I think just in the past week or two, they've introduced some AI functionality into Jetpack that I just thought is neat. Again, take this with a grain of salt of, you know, what's this going to mean, et cetera, but just seeing some of these possibilities. And throughout the year, Peter showed some cool things too, of like using AI both for, you know, image searching. I mean, people are probably familiar with that too, or generating content, et cetera. But what they've built into Jetpack is kind of cool. So you can try it out yourself. My understanding is there is a paid, so if you want to try it on your own site and you want to use the Jetpack plugin, I believe they do have a free version of this that gives you some kind of limited, what is the pricing? I think you have up to 20 queries, 20 API calls for the free version. But if you really want to just play around with it without touching your own site, you can create a free WordPress.com website. So anyone can do that, just create a blog. And when you create something on WordPress.com, Jetpack is installed by default. So that's one of the things, because it's WordPress.com is more of a managed WordPress hosting environment. So just to show you a couple of things that it can do, and I'll put a link to this article afterwards in there, but just again, for a couple of minutes for laughs, to show you the kind of things that are possible. So this is my WordPress.com, basically sandbox environment site. And I'm just going to go into a blank post. So you can do some posts or pages. And what's kind of neat is it's actually a block. So now behind the scenes, Jetpack itself, the plugin is installed. So what that gives you now is it gives you this AI block. So if I go in here, and there's a couple ways I can do it. I can add it directly in, just like I add any kind of block. If I search for AI, it's the AI assistant. So that's one way to do it. Or you can just type in, just like any other block, you can type /AI. So what does this let you do? Well, a couple of things. So let's show the first, probably the most controversial one, which is write me a blog post about, I'll say, healthy eating. This is, I think, one of the examples. And look, it's starting to write my blog for me. It's putting stuff out there. Now, what is the quality of what it's putting out there? You know, it's good as a lot of what you get from ChatGPT and other types of, you know, AI tools. But, you know, what's neat about this is the integration. I mean, this is a block basically that gets dropped, just like you can use like any other block. So in fact, you can look at this, you know, shows up in the list view. And at this point, you do have this option to say, okay, what can I do with this? I can either accept it or send, I believe will send me a copy of that. But, you know, you don't have to accept it. If you don't like it, you can do try again. So let's say I didn't like how it spit that out. So let's try one more time. Or I can switch it. I can say, let's say about exercise, change the topic. Let it go. So it's coming up with things. So it does give you the ability to refine both the text. It lets you change your mind, you know, change the topic, and some other neat things. So again, I'll let it finish its thing. It goes pretty quickly, blah, 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 as a conclusion. So I think some other parts of this, if we look at this, let's accept it for now. Some other things I can now do with it. If I go AI assistant again, there's things I can do, such as, you know, in here, when I first started, I can continue writing. So it'll use what, you know, my previous content and build off of that. I can go back, I'll show an example of this later, correcting spelling and grammar. I can simplify. So this whole thing that I wrote earlier, let's say that was too wordy. So I'm gonna click on simplify. And again, it leaves my content alone. It leaves the previous kind of verbose version alone. And now here's a summarized version of that. So, okay, let's say I'm gonna accept that. So that's one thing I can do. And what's neat is when it pastes all this stuff in, it's just regular WordPress blocks. So it's no longer, you know, it's no longer the AI assistant block. Let me just clear these off for a second. And let's delete those blocks. So let me show you another piece of that. So AI assistant. So some other things it can do in the, again, this is the writing part of it. So we already kind of saw this too. It can summarize an article, generate a title post. This I think is a really powerful piece of AI. So let's say you wrote a blog post and you're just not really sure what's a great succinct title for this. So let's see what it comes up with. Hopefully it's something like the transformative power of exercise. That's wonderful. So let's accept that title. Or I can try again, etc. So I'll leave that title alone. But some other things it can do, it can translate it to different languages. So I want to do Russian for a second, because why not? Okay, that looks like Russian to me. Let's stop that. And I'll show just a few more things in here as well. So again, back to the writing part of it. So summarize seems very useful. Because you think about the summarize, where you may use that from a WordPress standpoint is maybe that's the piece that you use for your snippet. Here we go. Back to sharing my screen one more time. So again, the summarizing part of it is another good way to just get like a snippet, for example, or it might be too long for a meta description on a post, but again, it's another just a useful tool built into the plugin itself. So if you look at also, in terms of generating, let me go back to deleting everything again for a second. And I'm going to delete all that content. Another neat one, which I don't know how well they're actually going to allow this, is if I go back into AI Assistant and say, write a blog post about puppies and include puppy images. This will actually go out and find, I'm not sure where it's finding them from, but it is actually going to try to include some images of puppies. So it's pulling in some image content as well. For Unsplash, it looks like, is it's showing the content. And let's see, right now, look, they're kind of flashing as it's doing it, because I think it has to wait till I accept. So once I accept this, and let me do an update, I think we can then preview it, and it'll show what the thing looks like. View post. Okay, so in this case, some of these, this is the hit or miss thing. This is very experimental. I tried it before and it did pull in proper images. It probably depends on where it's grabbing them from. Maybe some of those links are broken. So again, you can play around with it. Like I said, it's for free right now. If you sign up at WordPress.com, it's part of Jetpack, so it's already installed. I'll put a link to the article as well too, just to show the different kinds of things you can do with it. It's neat, going back to, I can already think of many objections to it. Like, is it a replacement for blogging? People are just generate content that is, gibberish and all that. It's a tool. You can do that with any other tool. So anyway,
yeah,
something worth checking out. All right. Has anyone else played with it? I'm curious because I know it came out not too long ago. I think in the past week.
I haven't played with that one, but there are lots of them.
Yeah.
And it depends where they're pulling that from, because Chat GPT 3 and 4 the 4 is the one you get if you pay for it.
Yeah.
They're very, very different. And I'm not sure when people are writing these plugins exactly where they're pulling the AI from. I tried Bard. It's not as bad as they say. I thought it was pretty decent.
This one I saw, Sue, I saw an article someplace that said it is pulling from Chat GPT, but version 3, or it's an older version.
Yeah, the free version.
Yeah. So.
And then you find out every time you make a request, it's burning up the air and the birds from their server farm, like Bitcoin was.
Yeah.
And I mean, you just can't win.
Yeah, I think the thing we're finding, like we mentioned for folks probably before you joined the call, there was another AI tool that Peter showed me. It was called Meet Geek. And it's for transcribing meetings, like a Zoom meeting, which I think we have our Meet Geek bot on here as well, transcribing. But it's neat because some of these tools right now are free, but you can see the long-term picture. They've got to make money, so they're going to start charging API calls or the plugins, etc. But again, if you want to play around with them, I think now is a great time, and see what they can do. Again, it's a tool. You can always use or abuse any kind of tool. So
I'm gonna put in the chat a website that there's a few that I've been going to for updates on information and all, and this one here that I just put in is WP Universe. So it is WordPress specific, and it touches on topics of plugins, videos, articles, fun facts. So there's a newsletter. So it's a resource for AI specific to WordPress, which is kind of handy. What's kind of interesting is I was going through the repository. I pulled a whole bunch of different plugins, and what you just showed, other than, and I think the trick is finding the source of where's getting the information, that was great. I mean, it worked pretty easily, and a lot of them, they work similarly. Some will be are focused on, for example, search engine optimization, and it might be put in your keywords and here's something you should do, or vice versa. Go look through it and what's a good summary title, just like you showed, things like that. So there's a lot of it's coming together, and I think we're in that experimentation phase. I don't know where I've landed, other than the fact that I am using Chat GPT. I'm using it for writing code. I'm using it for writing content for my own use. And I'll describe an AI thing that I'm doing kind of on the side that I'm having a lot of fun with. But, for generating even starter content, for example, instead of lorem ipsum, is really good. Avoiding that blank page syndrome. And if
it writes really good titles.
Yeah.
And really good outlines.
It's summarizations too. Yeah, I think like that was that example I think Peter you gave of.
Yep.
When you feed it a decent amount of content, say summarize this, it's a great starting point. To really get to the heart of text. Can I show one more quick example real quick too? Is another place where I can see it being useful in WordPress is, and I think this is in the same article I was reading about, is like a different kind of search. So this is Seth Godin, if you're familiar with him. He's a kind of a marketing guru, internet guru kind of guy. But he's using, I'm not sure if this is the Jetpack AI plugin on the back end, but it's using something similar. What's kind of neat is he's been blogging for, I'd say, at least over a decade. He's been writing books for quite a long time. So let's say he has all that content on his blog. A lot of it, again, is free, but when you're at that point, it's very hard to search through that content. If you think about a normal WordPress search, it's pretty basic. Even some of the better search plugins, they're still just searching text. They're missing kind of the context. So what's kind of neat here is this AI-based searching. So you say, let's say, how do I build my brand? Just some kind of marketing question. And it's not going to give you an answer just straight out, but what it's doing is it's going through all of his content and finding those like relevant posts to it and giving you links to it. And again, he has decades worth of podcasts, blog articles, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's another neat feature of this over time, is having the smarter search plugins that can take in natural language and then really understand the context of your content. Not going out, I know that's sometimes a lot of people are always concerned about, plagiarism and pulling out things from other places, but just think about having a better way to contextualize your own website. I think that's another neat feature of it in the future. So lots more AI. We'll have more fun stuff in the summer, fun little things to look at. So meanwhile, again, summer school, here we are. What are people looking to get help with? What are you interested in talking about? So like I said, anything's fair game. If you want us to look at your site, if you have something, a question, or if you're learning WordPress and you're just not understanding the concept or need help with anything, feel free, either raise your hand in Zoom, or take yourself off mute. As long as there you go. I got Paul, and you're on mute, Paul.
I know. Thank you, everybody, for letting me join your group. I'm absolutely brandy new. 45 years of graphic design experience, and although we did websites 10 years ago, I have no idea what web's all about. So I'm 3 days old to using WordPress and using Elementor as an overlay. So, just playing around with the tools and so forth. I find that before I was never a programmer, but these tools have come into play that's making it much more user-friendly and intuitive. So I'm going to get back into it. So I guess my question is you were the first group I sort of linked on very quickly, and I'm sure that there are available, but are there any meetup groups directly related to people that are using Elementor at all that you might know of?
Elementor specific meetup groups.
There is, I know of one that comes up every once in a while. Let me see if I can find it. There is definitely at least one because I've come across it. Elementor has a huge user base, and there are plenty of places to find, interactive training, conversations, help. I'm sure there's a Facebook group or two or a few on that would help you out, specific to Elementor. There's certainly certain people who are training on YouTube who focus on Elementor, and I think for anybody new, once you decide that you're using a certain platform, a theme, a specific page builder like Elementor, just knowing that that's what you're focusing on. There's a lot of other things that are being said about other things that won't necessarily apply to you if you're using it, or you're going to have a certain approach that's going to be specific to that tool that doesn't apply to other people. So just kind of knowing, okay, Elementor, this person is focusing on Elementor and they've got updated content, is a good thing to pay attention to. But let me see if I can't find that for you.
While he's looking that up, I will throw kind of a comment out there, which is, so Elementor, again, if you're fairly new to WordPress, Elementor is a page builder, is kind of what they call those tools. So in some ways, it's very powerful. It's a very powerful tool, but in a lot of ways, I would almost say from a beginner standpoint, it can be perhaps a bit overwhelming, because there's things you're going to fight with that are going to be, is it a WordPress thing or is it an Elementor thing? And those kind of tools, as far as I know, I mean, I use these days, especially in our group, we tend to preach people use plain old plain old WordPress with blocks and those things, which doesn't mean that there's not a learning curve with that, but in some ways, it's a bit easier to find help for those kind of things. Like I said, Elementor itself does provide you with a lot of features and capabilities, but I think sometimes if you're trying to do something simple, it might even be a bit of overkill for what you're trying to do. So just
No, I agree. I mean, they have a lot of online training tools that are live, and there's some training tools on Udemy, I think, is a site that has some
Udemy,
great
yeah.
session tools. But there's nothing. There's also the live thing that we have right here, where you're listening to people and interacting with people. And I've only been doing this 3 days, so you just happen to see a link. I thought I'd join the group and see everybody. Everybody looks like very nice people. Thank you. And so that's my question, and I'm done for the night. I will do my research, but if you have any sites that you see, put them into the chat, and I'll download
So
it at the
I
end of the night.
posted
Thank you.
I posted one called IEW WordPress Help Desk. IEW meetup has multiple meetups, but the Thursday night help desk one, which is on the second Thursday of the month, that's Steve Kinsey's meetup, and he has a Elementor kind of guru. He works pretty much exclusively in Elementor. And though the meetup doesn't always focus on Elementor, it's a great place to ask Elementor questions because he and several other people in the group are Elementor people. So that's one
Thank you, Egan.
possibility.
Thank you.
And just to follow up on that a little bit, again, Nicole asked a question, which again, it's one of those things of like, especially a lot of information if you're searching for how to build a WordPress site. A lot of times you will see tutorials that show Elementor or Divi or kind of these Beaver Builder, these other page builder tools. So I guess Nicole's general question, what changes when you use something like Elementor versus not? She said she's been using it too and thought it was just part of the process.
Mhm.
And I'll let Peter will chime in a little bit of what's the difference between using it like a page builder like Elementor and not using one.
Yeah, so page builders became really popular when the WordPress editor under the classic editor layout, where you had kind of a similar menu, but you had a tough time really designing a page. So you either had to know code or you were using shortcodes, things like that. So page builder tools came in as a kind of a layer on top that helped you through a much more user-friendly interface, drag and drop, put boxes and things. The thing is that there's different page builders and they do things different ways. And once you're kind of in a world, that's the world that you're in, unless you decide that you're going to extract yourself out of it. And some page builders are more friendly than others in terms of saying, well, we're not going to really touch your content once you turn us off and you go somewhere else. Whereas others are like, wait a minute, everything is either gone or it's all coded really kind of funny. Like, Beaver Builder is pretty friendly, although you will see some code that you have to kind of delete out of it. If you have a Beaver Builder page and now you just want to go to regular, you'll lose formatting because that was all controlled by these page builders. And now that we have the Gutenberg block editor, we have more page builder like functions. And a lot of people say, well, the block editor is a page builder, kind of, sort of. It's not really. It is the upgraded editor. But with it, you have so much more capability to really do involved layouts and grid type layouts and positioning of items like what the page builders gave you. I was a Beaver Builder person, and I've moved completely out. I didn't go and change many sites. I've either redone them because it was time for a redo. And all new sites are all done using the block editor. But yeah, as far as kind of once you decide that, just get really good at it, you're not going to have any problem with Beaver Builder, Elementor, Divi. Divi is getting friendlier, right? Ray, in terms of content. But yeah, once you decide that that's what you're going to do, you get to a certain point where it's like, yeah, this works the way I think, then just get really good at it. If you try and you're struggling over it, then maybe just try, the block editor, for example, as an option. I find it easier now, but I'm also experienced with it. So
Yeah.
There's also a conceptual difference for page builders because prior to the block editor concept in WordPress, the page view was basically a concept of header, content, sidebar, and footer, and that was called the web view. And so the page builders, in essence, helped you build that the content part of the web view. And so some of them have extra things like template builders that let you do the header and the footer also. But that's basically what they do. They help you build your pages, which are to them the content box of the web view.
Yeah.
The block editor, on the other hand, is which is where everything's moving to, is more like everything on the page is a block, and you just build your page by stacking blocks on the page, whether and if you're using the new full site editing themes, you can even build your header and your footers with blocks.
Yeah.
Elementor sort of in between, because it uses, well, it doesn't call them blocks, it calls them modules, but it's actually, they're building sort of a block structure. But the whole thing is based on the coding behind all this is called the DOM, or the structure of the website. So when you drop a module from Elementor on the page, it's putting divs and other things into the background, and that's how it's organizing your page. You look at it as I dropped a text module, but the web page is looking at it as HTML code, and that's a div, and this is text and things like that. So it's building it all in the background for you.
Yeah.
But Elementor is a page builder, and it's basically working. You either use the free version or the pro version if you really want the functionality. But if you the thing about page builders, if you buy the pro version and you build a site with that, you're locked into generally a yearly fee, a licensing fee, and that can get pretty expensive for that website. So all of us that built with like Beaver Builder, those clients either depend on us to maintain their site, and therefore I pay their license fee, or they have to go and buy a license to keep going.
Great point. Yeah, there's a hidden cost.
And-
Great questions though. So let's just move around some other questions. We can always come back to talk a bit more about page builders if we have more questions. Jean's had her hand raised, or virtual hand raised for a while.
Yes, my virtual hand. I was at a tutorial today, and and this goes along with the page builders, so I'm not jumping topics completely. It was about MetaBox and how it's an alternative for custom ACF.
Yep.
And they did it in bricks. The tutorial was in bricks. Now, I've heard the word bricks before, but I've just pretty much just done all 4 stuff and not used a page builder. And I guess I could have looked up what bricks is before this meeting, but I just finished the tutorial about 15 minutes before the meeting started. So does anyone have any opinions on bricks, whether or not to use it, or can I just use this MetaBox in core?
You can use the MetaBox in core. MetaBox is just a plugin.
Yeah.
And whoever, I don't know who did the tutorial.
Kevin Geary.
Yeah, Kevin's really. So Bricks is a new one on the block, and it's sort of a cross between a page builder and other things. It's actually a theme. And so it's kind of a site builder because it has templates and it has a whole bunch of other stuff built into it. But MetaBox integrates directly into Bricks so that when you're building with Bricks, the dynamic content is available to you in the Bricks elements. Same thing with ACF, or probably with pods, but you don't need Bricks to do MetaBox. But the core WordPress blocks are not as they are not as integrated for MetaBox yet. Some of them do pick up some dynamic. Generate blocks, cadence blocks, the new Spectra blocks, Those do have a better integration with the dynamic content like Metabox or ACF. So generally, if you're working with the block editor, you need to use a third-party block tool to
And
get
maybe-
to stuff.
Maybe I could summarize it, because this is a third way of, of building websites, which is kind of, and again, it's a little bit even, I don't know if it's an older way or not, but you know, the idea, and you still, it's not that any of these are right or wrong. You're going to also often see combinations of these, but the idea is oftentimes on a page, you want to, especially for those with building sites, you want to give your clients who are going to use the site the ability to change things on their own without having to call us necessarily. I know it sounds like bad business if I'm a website developer, but you know, with ACF and some of these other framework tools, it's setting up a page so that certain content, let's like the image, for example, like an image on that blog post, you know, you want that so a client behind the scenes can go there and change that image whenever they want, or they can change other parts of the site. And they're doing it through fields that they actually see on the back end of the page or post. Again, just a different way to build a site than making a client go into the page and start using the visual editor to change things. So, you know, all these things, page builders, blocks, and the idea of having like dynamic content, they're interrelated. They're just different ways, you know, to build the site, and sometimes complementary ways.
I'm gonna summarize. I'm gonna add an additional thing to your summary that kind of ties in a couple of things. One, as I think was it Nicole had said earlier, you know, just thinking something was a process. Yeah, if you follow a tutorial that says how to build a WordPress website, launch, you know, install WordPress, install Elementor, whatever, that leads you to believe that's the way. Now, what's also really interesting is you'll come across a whole bunch of other conversations or tools that people are talking about as if that is the best only way to build a website that are completely different. And that is things like Breakdance, Oxygen, Bricks, Breezy, Builderius. There's another one, and at some point, like I can't pay attention to those because it's just it. And people say, oh, build it in Builderius. It's like you're in a whole different world. You're just you're approaching it. If you go to Oxygen or Breakdance, these other, and they load like themes, but they basically change the way WordPress works. And if that's where you are, great. But it's, you know, it's a completely different approach.
All right, let's keep going around. Great questions, great comments. Sue, you were the last one to have your virtual hand raised.
Okay, I've got an easy question, and then Greg needs to raise his hand because he's got a question too. Here's my easy question. So I'm building a blog post using a numbered list, and in between number 3 and 4, I want to add an image, but I don't want 4 to become 1 again. Is there any way to add an image between the numbered list? And hang on, Greg, I'll tell you about that in a second, something in the chat. But is there any way to build a numbered list, stick a picture in the middle of it, and not change your numbering?
Let's
It
try.
was just a stupid little thing. I didn't have time to work on it. I knew I was coming here tonight, and I said, let them fix it.
Yeah. Well, I know.
I am using Cadence if that matters, but beyond that, no. I tried using a soft break.
Like that, yeah.
Can you put an image in there?
I don't think you can, because at this point, this is a, well, can
So I'm
you?
gonna have to unnumber the list and number it by hand. That was my sad reaction.
I can insert a link, but I can't insert after.
You can't put a picture in between.
Yeah. So this was an unordered list. You could, right?
Yeah, if it was
Inline
bullets, I could
image.
do it.
So
Inline image right
yeah,
here.
inline image. I was
Hang
going
on
to
a
say.
second.
Hold on.
Okay,
My
this
Zoom window is
is,
blocking. Sorry.
you're doing this in basic,
Yeah.
all right, you're doing this in core. I'll have to change from, I tried in Cadence icon list, that didn't work.
Yeah, if you do the core list, it looked like I was able to add it as an inline image.
And when you went to add it,
Like I can
did
do it
you
after
add an
this.
extra enter? You're using.
I put in a
right?
control break just to space it out, but then underneath here, it was inline image was the option.
I have to see if that's an image and if that's a possibility in
Should be,
Cadence.
yeah, I mean, even if you're using Cadence, you'll still have the regular list block, but yeah.
I really wasn't spending much time on it today, but I didn't see inline image. There's image and
You can do inline
advanced.
code, you can do other, you can highlight.
No, I didn't want not doing code. I've
Great
given
one.
that, I gave that up. Okay, I'm done. Greg doesn't know how to raise his hand. Tell him how to raise his
Uh-oh,
hand, please.
He's in say, what we can call, where is Greg? You take yourself up. Well, actually, let's go through a couple, we have a couple more people up here first. So let's, we'll do Jeff for next, and then we'll do Stephanie next. Jeff.
All right, so let's see if I can't be concise in this. A couple things. One is that I'm using Divi, so unlike Elementor. So I'm hoping there's a Divi expert to somewhat in the crowd here.
Right.
And the way I got into it was I actually hired a WordPress developer to develop my site, who gave me a great quote. As a matter of fact, it was great enough to me to go wonder, well, let's just see what happens. And sure enough, the site was a little above his pay grade. And which is humorous because that meant I looked at it and said, you know what, maybe I'll try to figure it out. And I'm a marketing and a sales guy. So way over my head, it's a dynamic site with user generated content and things like facet WP and all this. Somehow I muddled my way through it this summer, which was actually kind of fun. But I have a couple questions. One is that so he purchased the Divi version, and this is one of the problems from an end user, is that I don't own the license. So and it's old now. It's, I don't know, a couple, it's outdated. So the question is, I guess I can pay, I don't know, $250 and I get the pro license, and then I can use it to build other sites. And at this point, sadly enough, I probably could build another site, which I never wanted to do, but here we are. So I could do that, or I guess I could pay $80 per year. The nice thing about Divi is it's one-time fee, which is, and then I kind of own it for as many sites as I want.
It's still an annual, I think it's still an annual.
Well, you can buy the lifetime still for $249.
Yeah, the lifetime is, $249 for a one time, but the annual is, I'm looking at now, is $89 per year. So yeah, like I have a lifetime license for Divi because I have built client sites in it in the past. So if you're only going to build, one site, I guess you do the math though too. It's gonna be $90 a year. You're going to keep that site in Divi for the next X number of years. I mean, it might be worth getting a lifetime license. I think lifetime deals too, just this isn't your question, but you don't see those that often anymore. Some of us have gotten lucky and locked into lifetime deals on some, like Cadence. I've got lifetime deals on that. I think a lot of developers now, rightfully so, are no longer offering those because they're saying, hey, they need to eat, so they don't offer them. But anyway, sorry. So your question is about I'm not sure to get updates to Divi. Yes, you'll need an active license, and like we talked about earlier, unfortunately, whether it's Divi or Elementor or these other, or even plugins, if a developer built your site and if they're no longer maintaining your site in general, then support for those plugins or updates in general expires then. So if you want to continue it or get updates, etc., then yeah, you're gonna have to purchase a license yourself.
Did he take his license out?
You can you can deactivate it. So Divi, so there's two ways you can deactivate a license. In Divi itself, there's his code, it'll show your code with like password stars on it and stuff. But on the back end for his account, like for clients that I built their sites, I have a list of their websites, so I can deactivate ones who are no longer my clients.
I understand that. I'm just asking him if his Divi has been deactivated.
Has it been deactivated?
Yes. I mean, is it saying you need a license?
No, it's not saying that I need a license, but it's saying that the version I have is outdated now. And there's a few features in the other license plugin
and you can't update it. Is that the thing?
Yeah, I can't update it unless I have an active version.
So you'll need to put in a license.
That's the license, but you don't have to redo your site. You just have to put in your license into it. Yeah.
Right.
And make a backup copy of the site before you try the upgrade.
Yeah, because how old, can I ask what version? Do you know off the top of your head, Jeff, what version
I
of
think
Divi?
it's
you're
five
on?
something, five point something, 5 point. I think maybe they're at 6
Uh,
now.
Are you talking about Divi or are you talking about WordPress?
Divi.
No, Divi's only in
Divi's not-
4. Divi's still in version
Divi's
4.
not on version 5, so it's not Divi.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
Divi. All right. So it's not too far back, but it's a few versions back.
Here's
And
the
like I said,
question.
I'm also sort of
When you see this thing that says it's outdated, what page are you on? Are you on an updates page, dashboard? Where are you?
yeah, on the
s-
dashboard is I could suppose I could go
So
look,
that's WordPress probably.
but yeah, I'm pretty sure my Divi's. I mean, I think he put it in a few months old, and or little. When he did the work on it, I think it was old, and then I've been working on it old. So I want to say it's maybe one version behind. That's kind of my recollection. So
Well, if
maybe
it's
it's
saying
3 something.
5, if it's saying 5, it's not Divi. If
Yeah.
it's probably WordPress. WordPress is now 6.2.2.
Right. Yeah. My WordPress is up to date. That's not the problem. And
If you
I
go-
also make things even more complicated. I have Pantheon for hosting it, which they're awesome. I love them, but again, way above my pay grade working. I don't know if people know them for hosting, but they've got your dev site, your live site, and your test site set up anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I guess I have two options. One is I could just purchase the year-long one, which would be $89. I'll go for the 250. I'm kind of debating which one. The problem with 250 and I own it, then I may feel obligated or feel like I should build another website, which I don't want to do. But I want that maybe, I don't know. And yeah, so I
Well,
guess maybe has anybody had any experience? The other thing is there was a couple plugins I was looking to get from a company called Piea. Has anybody heard of them or worked with them at all? No, okay.
I haven't, but
it's-
what were you trying to do with the plugins? What are they trying to do for you?
Let me see. I think it's a the two I was looking for was a carousel maker, which I think if I upgrade to the new Divi version, they have one, or I could use theirs. So that's one thing I was thinking. And the other one was the social media icons.
Divi
Those are
comes
sort of-
with, yeah, Divi comes with.
Don't buy them.
Yeah. Well, I would say, well, Divi comes with social media. Depending on what you do, if you're just putting social media icons in your header or whatever, Divi comes with them. The thing about Divi itself, though, it hasn't been kept up to date. Even though they update it, they're kind of at an awkward place in Divi. They're basically rewriting Divi to be ready for this block builder world. So simple things like, let's say you want a TikTok icon. They don't have that. You can, there's ways you can add them, but I think some things in Divi, unfortunately, have basically frozen in time for the past year and a half or 2 years almost. So a carousel, they do have some, I'm trying to remember, there's like a gallery kind of module, and you could turn it into a slideshow thing like a carousel. Again, we won't go into the debate of whether that's a good design practice or not, but there should be modules already inside of Divi that can do most of, I think, at least the two things you mentioned, what you were asking to do. So I don't think you'll need to buy separate plugins for that.
Yeah, what I'm really
Core
looking to do is
WordPress-
maybe somebody's got a good solution for this is a sponsor's logo carousel type thing that would allow me to select, when I select a sponsor, go to a page. And that's
Yeah.
basically it.
We had this conversation in a meetup just yesterday, or not yesterday, Saturday, the Portland carousel logo things are one, they're not good for your page speed. And the other thing is that they're going by. So the person who's really looking at it has to sit there and wait. So if you've got more than maybe 4 or 5, generally people are not going to sit there and wait for the 15th or 20th logo to come by. It's much better just to do a sponsors page and have your icons for your sponsor logos on that page as links. So you click on the icon and it takes you to their page. It's much more effective because then one person can look at all the logos all at one time, and you aren't It's also, it's hard to get a carousel that works really great on mobile sometimes. I mean, they do work, but that's, again, it's more of an issue. A logo page is much better.
And Jeff, if you're looking at my screen, so this is a site that I built just as a volunteer for this cat shelter, and they have something similar. Here's their sponsors. This is built in Divi too. This is one I built years ago and still maintain for them. But this is a module in Divi. I think it is the gallery module, something like that. And when you put an image in there, you can add a link to it. So each of these, this will go to Petco, et cetera, et cetera. So that
it's a much better solution.
And you can also do different formats. I think I'm doing a masonry grid here. Divi gives you a couple different options for that. So you should have, there should be a module already in Divi that can do this.
Cool. All right. Sounds great. I would show you my site, but I'm not that great at it. Would take me minutes just to load it up, but it's
that's okay.
It's, it looks not too the way I built it so far. It looks a little bit like that looks.
Okay.
So it's not too far from it. So that's great. Thanks, guys.
Sure. All right, excellent. Let's jump to Stephanie. You've had your virtual hand raised for a while.
Hello, I have a question about custom taxonomies. When you have a custom taxonomy and you want to have an image, I have an image, a custom field, but I cannot show it on the side of the single side of the custom taxonomy. Does this make sense?
So if I could restate what I think you said. So you have a custom field on the website. So on the back end of your website, when you go in there on a page, or I assume it's a page, there's a field where you can type in a value for something, but it's
I have a custom taxonomy US states, and I have a custom fields with image in the custom taxonomy, like for image for the flags. And I want to show when someone goes on a state, on Alabama or something, the Alabama flag on it.
Do you have, is this website something we can look at right now? Are you able to share a page on the site, or Stephanie? Or
yeah, 1 second.
Can you put in the chat?
Sorry.
Because for custom fields, you generally need to add some code to a page in order to display them, and the code could be either short code or actual, however the site was built. I don't know if you built the site, or someone else built it for you. You have to go into
I built it by myself.
Okay.
My English is not so great, but
okay.
it's new. I did this very new. So
okay, let's see.
I did it with ACF and generate blocks, I think, and I have a shortcode plugin for the fields.
So where are you trying to display like the flag? I'm looking at your site. Oh, I'm sorry, let me share my screen. So I have your site up now.
Yeah, I would like, I make it with all with Gutenberg, and I would like on the right hand, like the flag from, in this case, Florida.
Okay, so here you would want to put in an image of the Florida flag. Okay, but it's just going to be an image. It's not going to do any filtering on these the posts or anything, right? You're just for decoration.
I want, because I want automatically when they go to the certain state, that it automatically pulls out the right image. I have a custom field with the image for the custom taxonomy.
So is this, as I'm looking at the structure here, you have this US states / so is Florida itself a custom post type?
Yeah, I have states, and each state is like a category, a custom taxonomy.
It would be helpful to see how this would you be okay with sharing your site just to show us the back end? I'm still just trying to picture what it looks like. I'll have to give you share access.
I don't know how to do this.
Oh, okay. One second here. Let me.
You might be able to use inspect tools. Right?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to make, share.
You might want to
Okay.
you might be able to use inspect tools to see what what her site has within it.
Yeah, I wanted
Okay.
to see kind of the back end structure of how.
I have a custom post type listings and a custom post types events. And for both together, I have this custom taxonomy states.
Stephanie, have you shared? Can you share your screen in Zoom for us? Do you know how to do that?
I don't know how to do this.
Oh, okay. So on
Yeah.
Zoom at the bottom, there's a share.
When it's too hard, I don't know. When it's too hard, forget about it. I thought
Okay.
maybe no, it's maybe you know it's easy way to do it.
I don't know if anyone wants to jump in. Like, I'm still just having a hard time picturing. I'd like to see how you built the custom post types on the back end to try.
Ray, it's the page that she's generating that show the Florida properties.
Right.
That's kind of an archive page.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
So she'd have to edit the archive page per text, per category. That's not a small thing.
Okay, so it all it depends. So I realized as I was constantly trying to talk, I was muted. So I apologize for not jumping in soon. So the first question is this an archive page, or is it like what I often do is I set up a page that is using, say, a post loop or a query loop or whatever that is then filtered by the state. So do you know if does the word archive make sense, or did you set up?
Yeah, that's the archive for the custom taxonomy.
Okay, so it is the archive template and how that was created, and then depending on what tools you're using.
In full site editing.
So you're in full site editing. So in the full site editor, you have greater control over the archive. Unfortunately, I don't have enough experience with it to give you direct advice on that, but you're on the right track. So basically, it sounds like what you're going to do is you're going to you said you're using Generate?
Generate Press, I think is the name.
So if you use the Generate blocks image with dynamic content, it feels like you should be able to pull.
Yeah, didn't
that.
work.
It didn't work?
Maybe I make something wrong, but this is the only thing what I didn't get to work.
Gotcha.
When you say it didn't work, is it not finding the field, the custom field, or is it not displaying it on the front end?
It didn't find it where I had to put, I don't know how to say it in English, where I would have to put it in. I didn't have this option. I have only the free version, so maybe this is the problem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, usually this goes back to our Elementor Divi talk.
Yeah.
A lot of times when these tools, like we're using, Peter, I forgot even the name. What's our animal shelter site that we used that we built? But
Yeah.
when you're using the free versions of some of these tools, a lot of times they don't give you that like dynamic content. You've got to get the paid version to then connect to it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No, that's a good question. Custom fields are a difficult. They're powerful, but they also can be tricky and a little bit difficult to work with sometimes. So
Yeah, I feel like it would take some time, but I feel like there may still be, since you're using full site editing and you have a lot more control. The funny thing is I don't recall if I have used an image in a taxonomy, because what I've been doing is I've been creating, I haven't gone into 50 states. Definitely you need to have taxonomy in the template, because to create 50 pages is a lot more work than doing one archive page that works for all the states. So you're on the right track. How to take that one dynamic piece, I'd have to play with it a little bit.
well, because that's back to the template.
So here's the thing: when you insert an image block, a Generate Press image block, if you want dynamic data in there, you have to go over to the right sidebar where the block information is, there's a toggle called dynamic data. You have to turn on that toggle, and then you can pull in dynamic data for the image.
Is
Can
that
you
only in,
repeat this,
is
please? I didn't quite
is
get
that in
it.
the free version, Eagle?
It's on the image block, so it's definitely the free version. Yeah. So here, let me.
By Generate Press, yeah, that I tried this, but it didn't have this from the taxonomy.
Well, your taxonomy would have, yeah, the only thing it's gonna, yeah, it's only going to pull in custom post types. It's not going to pull in a taxonomy.
Yeah,
Taxonomy
Uh,
is throwing me.
Yeah.
Generally, you don't use an image on a taxonomy because a taxonomy is just a link of a way to tag resources, right? So
Okay.
you have categories, you have tags, whatever, and then you link those together to pull, like from your archive, anything from any resource that has to do with Florida, that would pull it up for the Florida, if Florida is a category. But you wouldn't generally have an image on that archive, right? You would have an image on the resources that the category tag pulls up.
Like the
So
post.
each link that's pulled up, if Florida is your category and it's pulling up whatever resource or post type that is attached to that category, each of those individual links could have an image, but generally you don't have an image for like Florida. What you would do is you would create a header for your archive page.
That's
And
this, yeah.
And that archive page, you would you could put a hero image up there, or cover image, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then put a, like a post title up or category title up in the hero image, and you'd have an image that way. But again, it would be tough to do that. You might be able to, yeah, I haven't seen anything yet that pulls custom images from a taxonomy. Generally, they pull from a custom post type. If it was done, you would have to come up with some kind of coding for that template.
Oops.
That was me.
Okay, I see. I have a problem with this.
No, that was me. I put in a invalid. I was trying to get back to your
But
parent
it should
category.
show something by OS state. That's
Yeah.
good to know.
All right.
Yeah, but thank you.
Yeah,
I was
yeah, great
thinking maybe
question.
it's easy. I just don't get it, but it's
Not you. It's more difficult. Thank you.
I'm going to poke away on the side if something comes up before the end of the call.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I was just looking at the generate blocks block, and once you turn on the dynamic data toggle, it only gives you custom post. It only gives you post type as a source where you can pull from. It doesn't have taxonomy in there. It just post type. So
Okay,
sorry about that.
one last question. So you're using Spectra 1. That's good. Spectra has their own set of blocks, and I'm wondering if they have a dynamic block in there that might be happy to work with the theme, because I have seen that what you're trying to do. I have seen this kind of hard coded into certain themes.
Yeah.
And now most of us are enjoying themes that are a little bit more wide open, blank slate, but a lot of customization that can be done. So for a theme that had like hard baked right into their templates, it says, oh, here's where you put an image and it's going to be in the archive. To now do this, I'll poke around here too. But Spectra 1 is a good theme to be trying what you're doing. It's just a matter of filling in that one piece. So I'll poke around a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stephanie. Let's go to Jamel. You had your virtual hand raised.
Hello, my name is actually Brett.
Okay.
Can I just start screen sharing just to explain it from the screen?
Sure. Give me 1 second. Let me.
So I have a header that the theme.
There you go. You should be able to screen share now.
Okay.
This was the site that was put in the chat a while back, right?
Yes, I'll just show you like that.
Yeah.
How do I take that
I
out?
took a look at that, and there's a class on that image called angled something or other. And
Okay.
it's putting a background, and that's what's making the triangle dark.
Oh, so
And-
is it that you're using Elementary? So you're trying to get rid of, I'm sorry, I missed the question. If you just repeat, what was the question that you had on that page?
How am I able to take out this huge?
Oh, okay. Can you edit this page?
Yeah, give me just a second.
Yeah, it's probably a,
That's, that looks like the header though, not the page.
Well, I just did inspect, and
Yeah, I
there's a class on it.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Oh my.
No, I don't think we want to go into the, we don't
Oh
want to go
my.
into the theme. Go back, I'm sorry, we'll go back to the page itself.
Okay, and can you go
Yes,
to
so
edit
this, so is
page?
this an arc, this is the header, right? So yeah, go to, and what theme was this using again?
Something called Masonic.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know the name of it.
Go
Masonic.
to, header media. Is that it? Header media?
Yeah.
There we go, current header.
Okay,
And then is there someplace in here below? Is there a spot to do like,
Look at,
I'm-
look in custom CSS and see if there's a,
hang
So,
on.
yeah,
There's a class on that header.
that's what I'm
And
saying.
Is there
So-
any place in there to turn it? It stuns me that there's not a place to turn it on and off.
there might be another spot. Can you go back? Yeah, not X, no, not X, cancel, just the back, yep. So
Look
let's
that
see,
additional CSS, see if there's anything in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Go back
that would-
again.
That would be too easy.
Go back
Yeah.
again. There might be some homepage, no, not homepage settings, but there's gotta be a setting in here somewhere in the theme where it's basically doing that.
You can't edit the page itself, or is this
This
separate
is in
from the
his header,
page?
this is in his header that it's,
Okay.
What about background image?
yeah. No.
Okay, we don't have
We'll,
one.
we'll find it. Go back one more time. Let's try usually that's on the top thing. So site identity, try one of those. That's usually your icons, but they're, no, go back one more time.
How
We'll
about
find it.
featured image cropping?
Well, we can
No,
look.
that's in blog posts usually, so
No, that's not
Go
there. Go
back.
back.
Okay.
let's try.
It's gotta be
color.
in the it's gotta be in the CSS.
No, because you looked and it wasn't there. I'm sorry, colors. Yeah, right there. All right, no, that's
Wow,
just-
this is kind of stripped down.
so,
Maybe it's in the theme.
Let's go
settings
back
itself.
again, go back again.
yeah, what we're looking for
What
is,
about homepage settings? Did we go there yet?
No, we looked at header thing.
Oh, well, that doesn't help.
Get out of this, because sometimes, so what we're looking at for other folks, this is the customizer. And the customizer, some themes, again, the theme will expose different settings that you can change in a customizer. Some themes don't expose everything in the customizer. So let's get out of here for a second, close this up, and let's see if there's another place where we can change settings in your theme. Yeah, you can discard, it's fine. So back on dashboard, back in your WordPress dashboard, for this theme, is there a place underneath like appearance, perhaps? Scroll down to appearance,
Don't click anything, just
and it's Masonic options.
header.
No, that's
under
been already. Try
Oh, we
Masonic
did that
options.
already?
Try Masonic options for a second.
Okay, you're right, you're right.
To see if it's in there.
Too many cooks.
No, it's all right. I'm wondering if there's something in here. No, this doesn't even have a get started, to start demos. Let's try, go back to header. That's where we went to before, and there was nothing underneath a header. No, that's gonna
It's back in the customizer. All right, there has to be something here. The only other thing we could do is take the class itself, angled something,
angled back,
and put it into the CSS with background none.
that's right.
Yeah.
You want to try that?
Well,
Oh, wait a minute. There's,
while I
is
was
it
looking for
in
it,
the-
Ray,
is it in the template?
was there additional CSS in the customizer? Did you look there?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, there
nothing
wasn't
in
any.
there. Yeah,
Do you
So-
think it could be in the theme file editor on the style sheet instead
can
of the
you,
one that?
show, I'm wondering, so this theme itself, Masonic theme.
Yeah.
I generally wouldn't think that a theme would bake in that type of styling in it, but you never know. So if we look up that, I'm looking up behind the scenes, Masonic theme. It's a responsive and ready-made theme, blah, blah, blah. No, because the demo they show doesn't have that. So it's got to be an option that's set in there.
What if we went to the theme file editor and looked at the if there's a custom style sheet and not the main style sheet?
You know, I have a demo site that I'm going to install Masonic on just so I can.
All right, hang on a sec. There's only one. Is there a header CSS on that list on the right? Oh, heck, I would just write CSS to override it.
Well, let's we may have to get back to you on this one. I think we need some noodling on this one. I'm gonna noodle a bit if Peter can take the next question. I'm installing that same theme on the back end of one of my sites just to see if I see a setting for that. So let's.
Yeah, the trick with this, Ray, is that there is a class called angled background, which is set. The question is, where is that getting applied to the image, right?
Right.
Because that it is part of the div that's part of the WP custom header, which is part of the header image, which is under masthead.
Right.
So
Tell you what, I'm screwing up my whole recording. I'm gonna keep looking at that for a bit. If you can, let's jump to Nicole's. We'll get back to
Wait
you.
a minute. I think I found it.
Okay.
When I looked in at his media, that icon has that gradient background.
It had colors, but I didn't think it actually had the.
Well, when I looked at the page source and I called up the image, it had that
Oh,
The
gradient
pic-
background on it.
can you
the
bring up the
picture
home page? Can
itself?
you bring up the home page again? Visit site. So that slash, if you just right click on that image.
Right there.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought we were looking for the whole gradient, not just the slash. Pardon my interruption.
oh
No,
no,
it's fine. Yeah, because I think when he showed the image behind the scenes, it had the colors, but it didn't have the that gradient slash. All right, never mind.
yeah. If you go in the
Okay.
inspector, you could just all you do is click the background off and it goes.
Greg, click on inspect.
Yeah.
And you can see the class right on the right where it says background in the Cody part of it in the second column over.
Yep.
One more column over with the almost black background.
Keep going.
Keep going.
One. No.
One
it's
to your
column.
right.
There
There. Okay. Take the check mark out of background.
Boink.
That's the problem, and that's what we're trying to take off.
That's what we're trying to turn off.
Yeah, I would rewrite the CSS. It's much faster.
Well, let's hold on.
Ray's being stubborn, and I get.
Let's move on to the next
All right.
person. That's
The
a drastic way
geeks
to
want
do
the
it.
code. Yeah, go ahead.
Look,
Drastic way to
one of the
do it.
reasons why Ray and I, a lot of times you get into these twisty, circly things where it's like there's a setting, but then you override the setting, and then there's somebody wants to and it gets sometimes a bit, where is the little toggle or where is the class set or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Nicole, did you have something that you wanted to?
I do, but I was going to say, I first of all, I know absolutely nothing about any of this, but I was playing with some backgrounds on mine. I'm wondering if that last one was, I know that you can do like page breaks
Mm-hmm.
so I'm wondering, could that be like a page break background? Because I was actually adding them in mine. So if you actually go to the picture, you can do like a brush wave, or you can do different things in Elementor. I'm wondering if that's a background there, where if you click on.
Oh, so it's an Elementor
No.
option, maybe?
Yeah, but his site that site they brought up, that was not Elementor.
Oh,
But it's an option in there that allows you to do like different page breaks. So you can have different sections have like mountains or waves or side triangles. I'm wondering if that's a This wasn't my question, but I was just playing with my own, and I'm just wondering.
It
like,
just, it
That
seems
makes
so odd that they would put a class on a background picture and not give you a place to not do
But
that.
if you looked at when you separated it, it was outside of the picture, so it looked like a page break almost. It
You
looked like a
think-
section off. So I'm wondering if you clicked on it and you went to section that off, if you took the kind of a page break off, if that would do it.
That's a possibility. The only place we didn't look was in the template section of the structuring of building it on the left vertical navigation. There was something that said template.
Yeah, and if you click on, I know when I was playing with mine, if you click on it, as if you were going to adjust the picture or specifically edit that picture, it'll give you an option to add a page break or like a section in the background. I'm wondering if that's something.
If we could see the back of that site again and click on templates, I mean, it's the only place we haven't looked.
If he goes in there as if they were going to adjust it, as if they wanted to change the picture or something like that, like I said, it comes
Changing the
up-
picture, we saw the place
You-
to change the picture.
but
Can you
we
share-
didn't
can you-
see the
Can you
section.
share your screen one more time? Hold on one second. Can you share your screen one more time? Let's look at it again. I only saw a place to add the picture. I did not see a place to add the picture.
There is Elementor on that site.
There's a separate, but there's a separate part as if you were going to change like the font size and things like that. There is a section where it comes up, and like I said, I know nothing. I was just recently playing with this, which is why I was
Okay, I don't use Elementor, so as somebody who uses Elementor,
just
what does he want to look at in there?
Well, so
Just-
to be clear though, this is Elementor is the page, is the plugin on here for the page building part, but the header of the site, the site theme is not Elementor, the site.
All right,
but
so-
I don't think it's separate from the theme.
So Elementor doesn't have a place to impact the header. Is that what you're saying?
Unless there's a template for the header.
No, it does.
That,
If you, yeah, if you have the pro version of Elementor, you have the themer option. I don't know what they call it.
Yes, underneath here, there's custom, yeah, hover under Elementor again. one
First of
more
all,
time.
just one quick, did you make sure there wasn't a child theme?
Oh, that's a good point too. Go to appearance.
there was no style sheet for it.
You go to appearance down there. Yeah, appearance and then themes.
Yeah, go to themes. Let's just make sure that we are on
And
Yeah,
scroll
it's
down. No,
Masonic.
Masonic is the.
no child theme there. So that's good. It just, we're eliminating variables.
Okay, do you want to try to look in hover over templates, please? Just satisfy me because I have to go soon. Is there anything, I can't read it. Is there anything in there about a header?
There's, you can go to theme builder,
But that's the theme builders where you control header.
and then if you go
There's
to.
header choice right there.
Oh, I don't think this is the paid, it says upgrade now, so. I don't
Yeah,
think
that's not available in the
it's a
free version.
Okay, right. Sorry, free.
Okay, that didn't help.
Hey, to everyone else who is watching this, as we say on, there's another caller on, there are many ways to WordPress, and that's so incredibly very true. You'll look at this and say, this doesn't look anything like what my site does. And as I want to remind people, it depends on your theme, it depends on your plugins, what all of this stuff would look like. Many of us would not, most of us would not see this because we don't have this specific setup. Just
There
wanna-
is something Greg can do. He's apparently bought this theme. It's not free, I don't think.
there is free, yeah.
It is free. Well, you
Yeah.
can go to the person who developed it and say, look at my site and tell me where this option is.
It is actually it's in the CSS for the theme, it looks like. It's in the 10, so back to, sorry, so can you go back to appearance one more time? Go to, where theme file editor. I know you were here before, I told you to get out of it, but I apologize. Yeah, if you scroll down to, do a find, Control F on 10.1.
If you press Control F like Frank, yeah,
Yeah, this might, let's see if it finds it in the page or not.
and then hit the enter or something like that.
I think that searching is window below. I don't think it's searching inside. So if you just even scroll down in here a bit, you'll see there is a section. Yeah, so in table of contents, scroll down there. No, yeah, right there. In 10.1 in the header section, it's in there. That it is in the theme itself, is put that class, the angled.
So you'd have to take it off.
I go back to Sue was right in the beginning. It's like to really get rid of that.
Yay!
So
Yeah.
let me
I
show
want
the-
that documented on the recording.
I think the recording's been so screwed up today, but
It's okay.
So go to line 1068.
Don't edit that page. Do it in the customizer.
yeah, I'll show real quick how to do it. It's that class. Ooh, actually, it's going to be a little bit trickier than I think, because it's a class on
If you do it there,
the figure.
it's gonna get overwritten when you update.
Yeah,
And don't mess with this guy's style sheet.
Yep.
We want to go to the
There's a button at the top. It says, did you know? Right above this, there's a built-in CSS editor. Can he use that?
Yeah, that'll go to the customizer basically. So yeah.
Yeah. That's just a fast way to get
But
there.
the thing that we're trying to hide is
Okay.
And if somebody can put it into the chat,
yeah. So if you type this in, type in period. Yeah, give me a second. I can.
Can I ask a question right now?
Sure.
What's the edit button there is going to edit what from here? Because I don't normally see that in a.
This is in the customizer. Yeah. Oh, that's going to edit the block to edit this element. Oh, good. Click on that.
Take a quick.
yeah, click
No,
that.
that's back to where we were before.
We've been
Okay.
there.
So, well, but
Let me put that in the chat window 1 second here.
a new, okay. It feels like it's here. Scrolling down. I'm sorry, I didn't see this before, and it just feels like it's going to be anywhere.
At the bottom.
There's no CS supplied here. By the way, so Greg, you're driving? Fantastic job following instructions. I've never worked with somebody over Zoom who has been so in line with what we're saying and
I
listening.
know.
Yeah. Click here, click
Can you
that, go
click
back,
the,
do this.
Can you go back,
Um,
not the X button, not the X button, hit the other one, the back button. Or, yeah, go back to customize. Sorry, making jump around again. Go to customize.
Yep.
And then in
And-
here, in additional CSS. it
Down
says
at the bottom.
And then take what I put in the chat window. That little line of code I put in the chat window.
It
copy
says
that.
angled background, display none. Can
Yeah,
you copy all of that, including the semicolon at the end? And then paste that next to the number 1 that you see on the page. There you go. Now, if you click publish,
it's missing a bracket. Sorry, bad code. See, after it says display equals none, before the semicolon, you need another squiggly bracket. Sorry, that was me typing into a Zoom chat window. Right before the semicolon,
At the end.
at the end, not the colon, the semicolon, put it before it, one step over, put in another squiggly bracket to the opposite side.
that's a shifted thing right above your enter key.
It should have gone away.
Is it there? I can't read it.
Is the exclamation point for important?
I would,
He has the parentheses too, so
Ray, can you retype that and let him
Yeah,
copy
yeah,
the whole
sorry.
thing?
Yeah, let me open up. Let me put in the actual code editor for a second. Hold on.
Unbalanced parentheses and.
Yeah,
This is
just
This
Greg,
is Sue was
erase
just
what's
talking about
there.
a second ago. 1 second.
And to everybody, this is why you don't touch code if you don't know what you're doing, because one character could break
Greg, you can erase what's there. Ray's gonna put it in properly.
I put it back. We may need I hope we don't need a important because it should,
Important.
because that should be the only
It
class.
depends which style sheet loads first.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna play it safe. Just, this is not generally good CSS, but that's okay. It should
That's
get
okay.
rid of another problem.
We just want a happy customer.
1 second, I'm gonna put something new in the chat window, and this is what you should put in instead. So can you copy the second one? instead?
Yeah, that looks much better. It goes back to my curly quotes and breaking the site.
Yeah.
That's trying to code in a Zoom chat window.
Yeah. Okay,
Hey, publish.
hit publish.
There.
And then go look at the front of your site. It looks
Yeah.
okay to me.
Yeah.
It looks good because you can do it in a new tab and leave this one or not.
Yeah,
So for everyone, basically what
Ta-da,
It should have been that hard.
yay.
The moral of the story, I'm glad we this is called, what do you call it, coding or something?
Yeah.
The moral of the story,
Collaboration.
though, is it normally should not be this hard. This is, from a theme standpoint, that is a horrible
Right.
practice to force you to have that kind of design. I mean, I was assuming the best, that this theme developer, who seems like they kind of know what they're doing, because it's a very complicated theme, they should give you an option very explicitly in the customizer to turn that off.
You're absolutely right. That's almost unforgivable.
So,
I
okay.
feel like I adopted Greg tonight.
But
And just so if I could summarize for everybody, basically what all of this exercise was is that there was something in the header. It was the image was there, but there was a background. It had the angle. We found where there was CSS, cascading style sheet code, that said to do that thing. What we couldn't find is where was that being applied? How was that being applied? And ultimately what Ray did was write a little piece of code that overwrote that and basically said, don't do that, make it none, and now it's gone.
and
So
I'll just show real quick, to kind of wrap this up, of how I found that. Again, this is me using the proper tools instead of using Zoom. So back to when we looked at the code, we saw this class was being applied, this angled background class was being applied to the header. So that was the piece. If you want to see what that was doing, that's where I looked at, oh, here's the actual styling. And once I clicked on that, I could see the source of this class, which is doing background. It was basically doing that slash. This was inside of your CSS for the theme. So even though this is in the responsive section, it basically would show it no matter what. So we had to override some stuff in the theme. We had to do it the grunt work way, but
Yeah.
it worked.
So how do I learn that?
CSS.
Learn CSS. We
Like,
actually
so-
did it.
So
Oh.
my question was gonna be, now that I know that Elementor is just another part of WordPress as an option, as somebody who knows nothing, where should I start? Is there a good class I can take, whether it's paid for or not, where I could learn this stuff, or what's the best way to start this?
Well, I think what I was showing is more, there was a discussion earlier, I think, Eagle dropped off, but behind the scenes, everything is just
Yeah.
HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That's the web. Everything is that.
And WordPress is just an easier way of doing that without
WordPress is a
needing to put the
content.
code in.
WordPress is a tool, a content management system, which has a whole bunch of complexities and its own frameworks and stuff. But what Elementor, what page builders are trying to do, Elementor, Divi, etc., even Gutenberg that's built into WordPress, they're trying to hide the CSS from you. So what we just looked at normally would be an option. So the thing about it's something even simpler, like text, font sizes. I can change all the font sizes in the world on my website just strictly through CSS.
I
But
know.
that's a
but
horrible
that-
way to maintain a website. Normally, you want a field there that says font size, bigger or smaller.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what page builders and all these tools are doing for you. They're hiding the CSS from you. But the problem is most of these tools, because CSS, I've got the bookshelf behind me, what you can do in CSS, it's a gigantic book of rules, so they can't expose everything. So there are always times where you may need to do some CSS to do things like this. So
If I wanted to just learn how to do a website or a blog or whatever? Like, how do I, because like I said, coming into this, I didn't know that there were 65 different tools to help create. I didn't know that this was a whole different thing. So like, where do I start? Where do I?
Michael has a great one. Oh my God,
what's the best way to learn this?
Michael's plugging us. If you go back to our YouTube channel, we actually had a series about a year ago, which is still valid. I mean, the plugins and things may be a little bit out of date, but we did this thing called Let's Build the Site Together. And we did it over the course of 3 meetups where we said, here's how you here's how you start building your site from scratch. Here's how you pick the theme. Here's how you install things. We stepped through a very simple, that's our cat shelter site, which we need to go back to at some point, or our animal shelter. So that's, again, not to toot our own horn that we're the greatest at it, but you really want to start with something, again, not a mission critical website for your business, whatever. You want to try it like off to the side someplace and start simple. That was my other caution. I think he's dropped off now, but
so I put in 2 links. One of them is for the ever growing and ever, expanding learn.wordpress.org, and Laura can hop in on this one because she's involved, as am I. The one thing that needs, and it would be great to know if anybody's gone there and had some feedback, because I like to send some feedback to the folks for putting it together. I think it just needs better searching is for one thing that it needs. But also in terms of practicing something like HTML or CSS, a great resource is an old resource called that I put the link, the w3schools.com. And why it's so good is because for every little thing that you learn, you can go to a little practice thing, change the code, click a button and see what it does, and see, oh, okay, and just from that, now you say, okay, so this is a paragraph, it's a .p, it has a background color of, that type of thing.
And is doing something like that something you would recommend more so than like paying for a course for a weekend or a month or 2 months or a summer? Like, what's the best way to do this?
Well, a lot of it has to do with, and Laura, you jump in on this one too. It all depends on what kind of learner you are.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I've done a little bit of both. I like the W3 because it does have a little window that you can play with the CSS and you can see it right then and there. So it has that instance. The other thing too is don't stress about learning it because of the fact that full site editing is going away from CSS, and we're going with a file called theme.json, which is going to be, it's kind of like Ray said, the back end of everything. So they're trying to put everything at the front like a page builder, but not calling it a page builder within WordPress. So yeah, I'm a content creator for WordPress on the training team. I volunteer my time. And so there are a lot of great courses within there too. There's tutorials, there's lesson plans. So whatever kind of learner you are, you can look through those. And we also have workshops through Meetup too. So if you follow the Learn WordPress Meetup, you can see those. I know that Jean was mentioning she was on something earlier, and that's probably what.
Yeah, Jean goes to a lot of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I see Jean and I see Kay a lot. So
you teach
Yes,
stuff
the
for
WordPress workshops are great. And yes, Peter and Laura, I do go to a lot of them. And even if I go to repeat ones, since there are different people in there and they raise different questions, I learned something new. I could go to the same titled workshop and you learn something new. So
where are those?
So I did put one link in there. I'll give you another one too, which is
that the schools one?
Yeah.
So you can sign up for classes on there?
No, W3 Schools is just the resource for testing out things.
Oh, that's what you were saying where it comes up. I see.
Yeah, and the other one I gave is Code Academy, which is also, it has a ton of lessons in there too. That one is like a true learning step. You're building a project. I haven't done it in a while, but that was a great way for me to learn JavaScript, for example, because you also have a sandbox thing where you run commands, you test things out. I will say, again, as a developer background person, when I jumped into WordPress, I probably learned too much. I really, because I was a developer, I wanted to know how it all worked. I learned PHP.
But that's and that's me. I like
Yeah.
to. I kind of want to know
Right.
everything, and I don't know
saying
where to
too,
start, so
but
I'm
that's-
overwhelmed.
Yeah, but that's kind of the problem. Like I also got overwhelmed because there's so much there. I would say learn WordPress first before you bother learning the behind the scenes stuff, because we had another, I don't know if it was you, Gene, but yeah, I think somebody else out here before about, if you're a developer, you kind of want to build it yourself, because that's, or you're like, I need to build this thing. It's like, usually there's a plugin for it. Usually there's an easy, like with the thing we just went through, normally you don't do that. Normally 9 times out of 10, there's a simple configuration option to say, turn off the line or whatever. So
if you're saying learn WordPress first, where's the #1 place you would recommend I go? Well, like I said, whether it's a pay for course, whether it's a place like, I don't care what it is, but what would you #1 recommend that I do to learn WordPress?
and that's where I think I would defer now to Laura and Peter in terms of the free resource that Learn WordPress itself. I think there's good lesson plans in there.
So learn.wordpress.org, which we put the link in.
With the tutorials,
Yeah, with the tutorials is a great resource. You just, the one thing to be aware of is so much work has gone into the more recent things, because it's not that Learn, by the way, isn't really all that old anyway. And there's been this great resurgence of interest, and folks like Laura and Courtney Robertson is a person who is instrumental in putting this together. There's a few new folks who are doing tutorials at a great speed, so they're up to date, and they're really trying to stay in tune with the latest that's going on in WordPress. But one thing to pay attention to too is you may see some tutorials that are very specific to full site editing, and if you have decided that you don't want to do that just yet, you don't have to do it at the same time.
on there, you're saying at that link.
Yeah, but
Okay.
at the same time, seeing it just exposes you and might say, hey, that I would like that better because I have more control.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
I want to
I would
kind of
start
go-
there because it's going to give you the most pure, unopinionated in some way.
that's exactly what I want. That's exactly what I'm
From there
looking
you
for.
can say, okay, now I want to learn, I'm more, I like a page builder and I want to go learn that intimately. And I always say that if you find something that really works with you, then spend your efforts learning that and not paying attention like as much to the other things, so I'm still using what's called a classic theme, and most of my sites are now built with the Cadence theme because it works for me in the way that I work. But I use the block editor, so I'm spending all my the stuff that I'm learning is all about the block editor. It's going to be a pretty easy transition to move to full site editing should I decide to do it, because it's all based on the block editing process.
And also, just my last bit of advice, when you're getting started too, don't spend money right away on classes or all that, because there's so much free stuff out there and good free stuff. I also put a link in the chat. Check your local library. If your local library has access to, it formerly was called lynda.com, now it's LinkedIn Learning.
LinkedIn Learning, yep.
There's wonderful courses there for everything. I mean, just all business, everything under the sun. But I just put a link to show you the WordPress courses, and they're still fairly up to date. I think that they're still 2022 for the basics, non-site, non-full site editing. That'll get you started, and they're a combination of videos and little projects that you can do on your own too. So check those
So
out.
going on to the tutorials, wherever I look, whichever, I took pictures of all the links so that I have them, but how long, roughly, I know you can learn stuff all the time, but how long do you think it would take to have a decent idea of what I'm doing? Am I looking at like 50 hours or like 500 hours? Like what do you, just a decent idea of what I was doing where I was comfortable enough and it doesn't all seem so daunting?
Closer to 50, probably less than that.
Less.
Again, I think the key thing is when you're building a website, build one with a purpose. That's another.
Yeah.
Start with something simple. Start with what WordPress was built for, a blog. Build yourself a blog.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Strictly a blog.
That's what I'm trying to start. It's just a matter of learning how to do it. And I just don't know, having no experience with building sites or anything whatsoever. I'm just trying to get an idea of, is this going to be like a year-long undertaking for me just to learn the basics? Like just to be
Yeah.
remotely comfortable with it. How long is it going to would it
Laura's got her hand shaking. Good.
So Nicole, I started in March of last year. I started my website business in August of last year.
that's how long
I-
it took you to get comfortable with it, or
Between March and August.
And now Laura's teaching, so.
oh wow. Okay.
And
And
by the way, go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, so I had no background in coding of whatsoever. I coded robots with Lego software.
Yep.
And jumped into this, and yeah, I just celebrated. I just posted on my website that my domain is 1 year old, June 2nd.
so Laura, what resource did you use? You used that school, that what was the one that was in there? That the school.
Well, I went the other way. I found a paid, and I wasn't looking for it. I had quit my job to get my weekends off, and I was scrolling through TikTok or Facebook and came across this person, and I really loved their program, and I actually started working for them recently, which is kind of crazy. So it's called WP Rockstar, and it's by Julia Taylor. Her company's Geek Pack. So
WP Rockstar.
WP Rockstar, yeah.
So you took like a course, you worked one-on-one with somebody, or it was a course?
No, it's a video series of classes, and so you go through them, and then you pay for support. There's support there, so
yeah,
we have Facebook support.
And at the end of that, you knew what you were doing?
Oh yeah, not even in the end. I mean, I was, like I said, I was building a site in the first 2 months. So.
And how long was that course?
It's like I haven't finished all of it yet.
I mean, the tough thing is there's so many, it's depending on your style. There's so many courses out there.
That's the problem.
Well, but the thing is, don't get to the analysis paralysis. I think that stops a lot of people. Pick
I'm
something.
always there. I live there.
Pick something, and it's not going to be perfect, but it'll get you a step further towards where you want. I always say start with the free stuff just because I'm cheap, and that's we go for there's so many good free tools. But Udemy is another one somebody had mentioned here before. I think it was Jeff who's still on here. They're dirt cheap. There's always sales for those things too. Try them. You're not going to risk anything. You'll pay $10, $15 or whatever for a class.
Make sure things are updated and make sure they're not so opinionated. So
check the dates. Yes.
Yeah, that you're dealing with the basic stuff. I put the link into our YouTube channel.
Yep.
For us, we did build a site with us, and we tried to go through it very methodically. And we keep a lot of our things. We spent the last 2 meetups were spent time just on the text blocks and nothing else, just to get you. So if that resonates with you, take a look at it and watch it on double speed and see where it clicks. But even that's an opportunity to learn. But yeah, there are the thing like the rock stars and stuff, and you can get into programs that are more curated, that might have working buddy forum, mastermind, and all the gamut. To me, I'm the kind of person you go in, and once you just start experimenting, so you set up a free site, so, use InstaWP, and use Taste WP, local, right? So Ray, you got the link for while I'm blathering here, but local, so you can load websites on your own PC, so you're not paying for any hosting, and experiment away, because you're not breaking it. You're breaking your own stuff. So I'm a learn by doing. Hey, when I do this is what I see happen. Now I get it. So many different.
Yeah, it seems to me my experience has been you need a site to build. So if you've got one that you already need to build, all right, so that's step one. And step two, I like the idea of just going for free, going to the as Peter just said, doing the 3-day build a site and use that around your site. My other thing is, and here's a question for everybody. So I just kind of jumped into Divi because that's what the web builder that build my site, started with. So that's got kind of got stuck with it, but I sort of like it. And if I want to switch out of the Divi site to do something else, I'm hoping it won't be that difficult. But I'm not sure I need to do that. So that's one question is, will that be difficult? And I found Divi to be pretty intuitive and powerful and pretty easy to use.
You still, so as a Divi guy, it depends on how complicated your pages are. So any of these page builders, they leave behind their traces. So if you just turned off Divi, you would see a whole bunch of garbage, and they're called short codes. Your site's not broken. It's just that's the way Divi builds pages. You'd have to rebuild your pages using another tool. And again, these days, I know we're running out of time here, but these page builders, they were solving a problem that in the past, I think now core WordPress with a bunch of free, like we show Cadence in our series, it does what these page builders, you needed a page builder to do them. Now, that doesn't mean Divi itself, I'm sorry, that doesn't mean WordPress itself is 100% there. There's still things you can do, really complicated stuff you can do in Elementor and Divi that you still can't do easily with WordPress. But for 90% of people, they don't need that complication. You just need a simple build a page, and that you can do without any page builder.
And one thing to add to that is a lot of times, like Elementor is notorious for catering to an audience that always wants more features, more features, more features. And a lot of us are pulling back on those features and saying they're not every trick in the book you don't want to use. The carousels that show you, having everything fly in and zoom around and animate, it's not good for accessibility. It's
so,
not.
So Stephanie said in the chat that she learned to trial and error on YouTube. And that's how I ended up with Elementor. So I was going through YouTube videos. So now you guys have me nervous that maybe I screwed up and I shouldn't have done that.
No, yeah, that's the hard part. We don't want to, if it works for you, use it, but just,
now I'm married to it is what you're saying.
No,
so like everything's gonna blow up if
It depends on how much you've invested in it. Again, if you just built a site that's a couple of pages and all that, switching it over is actually a great exercise. And maybe that could be something we can help you with in next month's meetup. We can rebuild a page from Elementor into, or Divi, we won't judge, we'll rebuild the page into something simple and show you how to do that.
So should I still work in Elementor and keep okay?
I think the thing is the concepts you're learning with your page builder tools, they will transfer over to, I can jump between Elementor, Beaver Builder, Divi. I just have to find where the controls are, but basically the concept of setting up rows and sections and columns, that's the same. And that's
and one thing that we don't want to forget, and I don't think we've mentioned it yet, and very often in these discussions I don't hear it mentioned. If you have Elementor, if you have Beaver Builder, if you have Divi loaded and you're using it as a page builder, it doesn't mean you have to use it on every page and every post. In fact, the way it's originally designed, they were meant to be, these are your pages are far more, designed and elaborate and all, but posts were like, oh, you wouldn't use a page builder for your posts because you're just putting content and images and all. So you don't, just because you have this page builder world, you don't have to use it for everything. And I see that. I see Elementor used on every single post on some sites and I'm like, it's overkill for what they're doing, but that's what they think they have to use because, and it's like, no, just go to the.
Well, and that's where I'm at. I know nothing. So I didn't even know that it was one of 50 tools that you use to build it. So I didn't even know that.
Think about this. So if you're using Elementor, and I know we're a little over time now, but think about your page, think about pages that you want to really design. And maybe you're only using Elementor for a home page, for example.
I wouldn't even know. That's the bad part. I wouldn't even know.
Yeah. Well,
I would say if you guys are okay with it, both Jeff and Nicole, come back next month. Beforehand, if you're a part of our Facebook group or just reach out to us through Meetup, send us a link to your current sites that you're building or a page of them. And what we can do, because we can prep a little bit ahead of time, what we'll do as an exercise is we'll show you how to build that page, a single page or parts of it using straight WordPress with no page builder. And I think it'll just be a learning experience. Hopefully others will find that interesting too, because we'll show you how things translate between the tools. So Elementor and Divi are very similar. So I think we can just tackle both sides of the same.
What's the Facebook group?
Peter just put it in the chat, and I'll send out normally after the meetups. I'll usually send that as well. But just search
Perfect.
for Hartford
Okay.
WordPress.
Okay.
So you can contact us through there, or just contact us directly through Meetup. But hopefully everyone learned something tonight.
That's good.
These are always interesting. Started off a little bit wacky, but we got back on the rails. And thanks everyone for putting up with. You think people would tire of that stuff, but I guess not. People got nothing better to do. But again, thanks for joining us. And again, next month we'll do the same thing. We'll have a little bit more AI, too. That's a hot topic. So
Very good.
Thank you, everybody.
everyone. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.